What's up, guys, and thanks for coming back to Bronco Adventures. And we're in the shop again today. We've got an install video on the new Bronco. If you've been keeping up with us, well, we tend to get that thing stuck a lot. So it's time for a winch. But first, how do you mount a winch to the new Bronco? We spent the money on the modular bumper. I don't want to get rid of it. So we hooked up with JCR. We've got a winch plate, and the reason we bought it says that it works with our adaptive cruise control. We don't even have to relocate it. I want to know if that's right. So sit back, hang tight, and check out what we got in store for today. Which way do you want me to go? Alright guys, so what we're installing today is by JCR Off-road. You know, the guys we got the skid plate from for the fuel tank, because we didn't option it from Ford. Well, in this case, the modular front bumper that we did option from Ford, well, it was kind of expensive. And I know that it's probably easier and better and nicer and, you know, all the reasons to take off this modular bumper, pitch it, and put on a whole new bumper. I get it, they look cool, but you already spent the money here. And we just simply want to put a winch because, well, I don't know if it's my driving, but I'm getting this thing stuck all the time. So JCR offers a winch plate that already just mounts to the Bronco, utilizing all the factory locations of what you already have. So what you get in the kit is all the necessary hardware, all of it, to just simply bolt this thing on. You get the washers and you get the rubber grommets, because if you have, you know, the parking sensors for your wife, so she doesn't run into anything, or myself, it's fine. Anyway, you have to relocate those. So they send you the grommets to relocate those to the new winch plate. You get all the hardware. Then, what keeps the winch mounted to our Bronco, you're replacing the factory anchor point. These bolt right into place to the frame where the anchor point already is, but then, of course, you get two of those. You get your winch plate that sits in those. These are the holes that we will relocate our parking sensors to, and then you get a good shelf to mount a winch in here. Now, we don't have a winch quite yet, but I'll tell you who I'm going to get that through. Next Gen Bronco Parts and Accessories. I'm going to hit them up as soon as this is installed. Watch for that on a later video. But for now, we're going to install this on our new 22 Bronco. Let's get to it. On the panel here, right by your original tow hook point, is plastic. So you're going to want to get a panel tool, pop this plastic piece off. It's pretty simple. I don't have a panel tool, but I got a big flathead screwdriver, and well, it's about the same thing. So pop this guy off. You know, try not to break it. What are these? Oh, look. You gotta pop out these things. See, we're learning together. Looks like there's a few of them. Maybe this is on a 22 thing. I don't know. Get a panel tool. Be easier. Four of them. There's four of these little clip things. And just like that, it just comes off. So, you know, let's do the same thing over there. So, now that you have the plastic cover off, if you got sweet tow hooks, well, goodbye. They gotta come off. It loses that color on the front end, and it just, it's gonna be the thing. Maybe, what color winch do you think we're gonna get? This is stuck on there. It's like it's been used or something. Watch your eyes. So, now that you get your second tow hook off, the next part's real important. We're going to be removing these three 15mm bolts on each side here. Now, That's all that's holding your front bumper on. So get a second set of hands, guys. It'll smash your toe. So I picked a second set of hands that's easy on the eyes. Come on in. Do you know how to use that?
No.
You just squeeze the trigger. It's called an ugga-dugga. So I forgot to mention there's wiring in the bumper. You know, that's fine. You got to get the wiring disconnected to be able to get that bumper off. There's a couple zip ties. If you cut those off the back, up underneath this kind of trim piece here, your plug-in, it's kind of hard to see, but it's right here. This is what holds all the sensors and everything off of the wiring harness. So you need to reach in here and unplug it. Make sure you do that first, because, you know, if you do that part first, it makes that last part, you know. The struggle was real. So now we're on the bench. We've got to disassemble this old modular bumper and got to play with some wiring. Don't be intimidated. I think it'll be easy. Let's go check it out. We've got to access the wiring on the inside of this bumper. So we've got to take out these brackets so that way we can trace out our wires going to our park sensors. So what you're going to do is remove this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So there's 6 that you have to remove. I found a T40 that fit. I don't know if it's the right one, but we'll see if it works. So pull all 3 of them out, 6 of them out, and then we'll flip this thing over and get to the back side. Back side. Put them where you'll lose them. That's what I'll do. So then it appears as if we're going to need to take out, I believe these are a 14 millimeter. Looks like we'll have to pull these 2 and then maybe this little 10 millimeter guy. I believe this is what's holding that original tow hook in place. So when you take that out, just make sure you don't let that fall on your toe. It'll hurt. So it's actually a 13 millimeter. Correction made. And then 2 10 millimeters that hold the original tow hooks in place. So now, oh geez, you gotta take out more bolts. Imagine that. I guess that's why they call it a modular bumper. Bolts hold it together, and you can modify it within what it already is, I guess. Flip it over, and now you got to remove, looks like 4 to get this inner structure out, again on each side. Learning together. Let's figure out the next step. Now that we've got those T40s out on the front side, our whole little bracket moves, and this is the piece ultimately we need to get out of here. But there's a wire running through the inside of here, and we don't want to pull. I don't want to pull on any of the wires because, you know, I break it, I buy it. It's too late, I already bought it. So I'm going to remove these 2 13 millimeter bolts on each side, 4 total, and then I think this will come out and I can clip the zip ties, not pull on any of the wires. You know, thinking ahead. So, all right, and out with one. Maybe out with another. So the zip ties are on the back side of this one, and then on the driver's side, the zip ties are right here holding this wire in place. So let's get those out of there, and we're making progress, I think. So now that you've got the inner structure out of the bumper, you've got 4 parking sensors, 2 in the corner of the bumper, and then the 2 that are in the middle. So this one here, and then this one here are the 2 that is what we're going to have to do. So we're going to have to cut into this wiring harness. Be careful. There's wires in there. You don't want to hurt them because then your stuff ain't going to work. Cut it all the way back, and we want to get that wire out of there as far back as we can because these sensors are going to have to go out to the new winch plate to be able to still utilize our radar parking, you know, so you don't smash into stuff, or at least you have a, you know, beep beep warning, you're going to smash into something. Hey, smash the like and subscribe button. Come on, drop a comment. Tell us what you think. You know, are we doing cool stuff, or are you guys bored? Let us know. Anyway, let's get a knife and let's cut up our wiring harness. Great. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting through the electrical tape. They've got this wire all in a nice plastic loom. It's the loom that's split in half. So if you find that little joint, just run your knife down it. You can cut the tape and expose our wire. So what we're going to end up doing, I got a little more electrical tape to cut here. Again, careful you're not potentially cutting into your wires. That'd be no good. So slow and easy as it goes, you know, be a little patient. Don't cut your thumb off. You need it. Life's easier with 2 thumbs. Just like that, we've got to just expose this. I unplugged it from the sensor here. We've just got to get it all the way down into here. Then the kit doesn't come with it, but I would recommend getting yourself some more wire loom and re-looming this portion that goes out to our new winch bucket, which we will do. But then the other wire, just click it back into the wiring loom that's there and tape it up, you know, keep the moisture out of it as much as possible. Let's keep pulling this thing apart. Looking at it, we might have to remove this next intersection piece. I didn't think we were going to have to, but well, that's what I get for assuming, you know, it's fine. Basically, if there's a bolt, just take it out. Let's just, you know, finish. Why try to make it what it isn't? There's 2 bolts here, T40. Knock those guys out, and then rotate the entire assembly. And you're going to want to take out this one, and this one. And I think that will expose the rest of the wiring that we need access to. This is probably why people buy whole bumpers. There it is. So now we just keep tracing this wire back until we hit a junction point. At some point, it's going to all tie together. I'm just foreshadowing. I think it's probably going to be up to this point, but I don't know for sure. So let's just keep cutting stuff. It's kind of fun. So we've got our wire exposed from our loom. And to tell you the truth, I don't know how far back this wire goes to a junction point. So what I'm going to do is right here, this little white connector piece that was connecting into this bracket, the last one we just took off, I'm going to just leave this one out here because that right there has probably gained us at least 18 to 20 inches of outward travel. So I can put this in a loom and tie it back to this point, and I think I'll have plenty. And this was the passenger side. So now I think I'm going to start cutting the driver's side, which is this plug in here, and just see how far down that comes and let that kind of dictate what I'm going to do, because I don't know where the junction point is. Again, I'm assuming it's in here, but I guess we won't know until we start cutting it open. The loom's a lot easier to cut open than you'd think. You just figure where that split is in it and just take a good sharp knife or, you know, a scalpel and just cut it open, and then it just simply peels back and pull your wire out nice and easy. And again, just make sure you're not cutting too deep. So let's start on the driver's side one and see what happens there. I'm having a great time. This is why people take their Broncos to shops and pay for stuff like this. Not me. The end was near. So we found where the junction point is. The purple and orange wire, yellow wire, whatever, cyber orange wire, that's what we'll call it, comes down here. But then we have this white wire. It's coming all the way back to our main bumper harness right there. So that's all we're going to be able to get out of the, just move on me bumper, out of the driver's side sensor. So now just get yourself some wiring loom, put this back in a loom, and I would recommend retaping where you had to cut out the wire to gain that extra length. So I used my brain and found a measuring stick and found that the wire only needs to go to the winch plate about 6 inches. About here, it will stick out about 9 inches. So you should have enough wire. And then here, well, it's going to stick out all the inches because I didn't know where to stop. So I just kept cutting, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Okay, so now we've got our wire all loomed up. Don't judge. My wife wrapped it. It's fine. It looks great. So I don't know exactly how the wires are going to come out, but for now, I'm going to kind of leave both of them just in the middle. And now we'll go ahead and reattach this bracket here. There was 2 bolts here. We'll flip it, and then there was the 3. And then I think we can take and start getting everything back in, but first we're going to have to remove both of these sensors. So I think all you do is you kind of like spread out on these little tabs here, and then these just pop out. So what's holding this in is there's a little tab here, a little tab there. So in that plastic piece on the bumper, you just have to open it, and these will pop right out. And there it is. So I'm going to just loosely kind of get these brackets laid in here, and then I'll start tightening them all up all at once. So hopefully they just kind of line up, you know, like magic. Like it's from the factory. So now we get the other side back together and tighten it all up. Then we can actually get this bumper back on the Bronco. We're making progress, is what I'm saying. If you have leftover bolts, did you do something right? Or did you do something wrong? You don't need that one. So, now that the bumper's back together, don't let this part intimidate you guys. Super simple. You just have to take your time, cut that wiring apart nicely, so that way we can have our 2 sensors come out into our winch bucket that's going to sit here and be able to still have your radar system working without any major changes. As this may be a pain in the butt, I would imagine if you're going to be changing the entire bumper to an aftermarket, you're probably going to have to remove all the wiring from this bumper, transfer it into a new one. There again, unless you have a bumper that doesn't have any wiring in it, base model. So, you know, with these, if this is all you have to do, and if this is the hardest part, to put a winch on your Bronco with the factory bumper, I don't think this is a bad deal. So now, let's figure out how to get the bumper on there with the new brackets, get that winch bucket sitting in place. So now, you're going to ask the beautiful assistant for some more help. Want to help me? I'm going to pick the bumper up, and then the factory hardware is what you reuse to mount the new plates on. You want to make sure that you're putting these on the right way. You want these bigger holes for like a clevis to go in, and they need to be down. That way when the winch bucket sits on, it lifts it up to where that bucket will sit just right above your cruise control module. And that's why with this kit, you don't have to relocate this. Typically, aftermarket bumpers, you end up having to pull the grill and it relocates it up in the grill. But JCR's figured out that just lift that bucket up a little bit and this stays the same. Now, the only issue is when you get a winch on here, it's probably gonna block out the camera a little bit. But to have a winch versus a camera, that's not a huge deal to me. JCR does make a relocation kit for the camera to come out onto the winch. The only reason we didn't get that is because we feel like we're putting that camera maybe in harm's way, but maybe down the road we'll decide if we're going to change that. But for now, we don't need no stinking camera. All right, ready?
Ready.
So for now, we're going to want to leave the bolts loose, so that way we can center up the bumper and we can also center up our winch plate. Then go ahead and tighten everything down. So now that you've got the bumper in place, we're going to take the winch bucket, we're going to put it on those horns, and then we're going to make sure that we have the bumper actually aligned. Once it's aligned, then we can go ahead and snug down all 6 of those bolts to hold the bumper and these brackets to the frame. Before we just walk away from this, I think we'll put a bolt in to hold this on here so it doesn't fall on our toes. you know, I'm not wearing safety boots today. So, I don't know if you guys can see it. We'll show you a closer view, but that adaptive cruise control is literally just right under there. So, I think the JCR is quite right. This probably will work with our cruise control, but I'm still skeptical. We're gonna have to, you know, run up on cars and try it. Because the slow me down feature is really nice. I've gotten used to it, and it's hard to drive anything without adaptive cruise control because, well, I'm just so used to it. All right, so I guess I should have measured before, but I think we can at least eyeball it. Right there. Oh, I'd say it's perfect. Just, we're gonna send it home right there. All right, now we'll take the winch plate off. I'll tighten the other 2 bolts, and then we still have to put our little plastic beauty covers on so it looks pretty, you know. So add your covers back on. Don't forget this step. You don't want to be that guy out on the trail, you know, missing these. That'd be silly. Click those in, make sure your wires are out of the way. Then take these little grommet deals and pop them back in. It's like this bumper was made to come apart. Kind of cool. Maybe I'm wrong. Wow. I don't understand. It's always one. There it is. Easy. All right, now it's final mount the winch bucket, and then we can get our sensors plugged in. That's definitely the hardest part about this install, I would say, is getting these wires undone to get them out, maybe. And there you have it. JCR Off-road winch plate installed on the 2022 Ford Wildtrak with the modular bumper. Now I got excited and I put these sensors in and forgot to show you that. Sorry. It was literally just as simple as connect it to the wire and then just pop it through. And the little rubber grommet just holds it in there. Now if you don't have that feature, they also send a little plug that goes in this place. So we don't need the plug because we got the feature. But I will tell you, get as much wire out of that stock loom that you can, because I think we barely have enough. There's a little slack on it, so I don't think there's any tension holding on it, but if I didn't cut back all the way to that point, I think we would have to probably cut and extend that wiring harness just to be safe. But like I say, we had just enough to get those connected in. The real test is going to be to make sure that the adaptive cruise control actually works without having to relocate it. But for now, we got the winch bucket installed, so I just put in an order with NextGen. We got a winch on the way. I'm super excited for that. Hopefully it shows up and we can get it on here before we go get stuck again, because, well, it's happened more times than we would like to admit. But just because you have a winch doesn't mean you're invincible, but, well, it means you can at least get a buddy out. I haven't been able to get any buddies out. You know, they always help me. So we're super excited to have this on the Bronco, and we'll give you a review of what we think of it. But there it is. Pretty simple to install. For now, get off your couch and go create an adventure. We'll see you next time.
Bronco Adventures.